How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about ChargePoint, which was up almost 5.5% on the day. We saw a lot of buying coming into the tech sector, and also I've been getting questions like, Dre, we need an update. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for ChargePoint. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $14.22, being up 5.49%. On the low, it tested $12.96, and then on the high, testing $14.32. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 7.083 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 7.951 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, but we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 42.98. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So as you can see here, we ended up posting a strong green day. We saw a lot of buying pressure in the markets after Jerome Powell came out with the great news. And what we can notice from this ChargePoint chart, we have been forming higher lows for the past 2 trading days and as well as higher highs. So going into tomorrow, if this strength does continue, I'd want to see if ChargePoint can make that move to the 21-day EMA, which is at $15. Of course, this will be a psychological area, so you'd want to see some price action strength above $14.84 for us to get that move to 15. And if we have demand inside of the market and there's a lot of buying pressure, we could see a continuation of the run going into next week. Now, if it decides to pull back, considering it has run up quite a bit, I'd want to see another higher low. So the low of the day was at $12.96. So if we end up having a low of the day going into tomorrow around $13.83, this is not bad. Another area that wouldn't be too bad either would be right here around $13.50. So keep an eye on those levels, because if we have strength there and if we can consolidate above those levels and we have more movement coming in the market, we can have some consolidation and it can get us ready to make that test going to $15. They do have earnings that's coming out in June. So as far as for the price action for ChargePoint, it's really going to be dependent on the strength we have inside of the tech sector. And if that continues to pick up, ChargePoint will follow along with it. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for ChargePoint. Scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for May the 4th, we have Prospera Financial Services that purchased 5,113 shares, and we also have Advisor Investments LLC that purchased 12,796 shares. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 66.59%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.53 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 1.6 million, updated just now, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 0.98%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the second, it is at 60.20, and then for the close of the third being at 66.59. So there's a lot of shorts who are vested in this play. play. And taking a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 14.30%, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. The criteria we normally look for is 14% or higher, so it's just right there. But do know, in order to force a short squeeze, you need to have above average volume and a lot of buying pressure. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution.
Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for ChargePoint. So we see here on the inflow, it is at 11.48 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 13.21 million. So we had an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0. On the medium, it was 7.33 million. And then on the small, it was 4.15 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the medium, it was at 8.31 million. We also had 0 on the large. And then for the small, it was at 4.90 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see zeros down the board for the past 3 trading days. And on the 29th, we had an outflow day of negative 2.14 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had 0 on both sides. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 2.11%. So this is not too bad for a growth stock like ChargePoint. There has been a lot of volatility inside of these markets, even taking into consideration today. We had a strong sell-off that was happening in the earlier sessions. And as we got into the afternoon, we just started rallying all the way to the close. So let's go into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for ChargePoint, when it comes to the price action, it is looking pretty good in a technical sense. We've been able to form higher highs and as well as higher lows for the past 2 trading days. So I want to see a continuation of this. And the next level I want to look for is $15. That's right where we have the 21-day EMA. If we can reclaim this level, show some support, or even consolidate a little bit, that's where I want to see the next move up for ChargePoint. We also have to take into consideration the downside. I know there's many traders who watch this channel. So if you are looking for a pullback, you want to see if ChargePoint can come back down to around $13. But we need to see weakness in the market, especially for the tech sector, for this to actually happen. But one thing that I want to be clear about, if we end up having a pullback going into tomorrow, whether there might be some profit taking and so forth, if ChargePoint is able to hold up at least around 1350 or even to the 1380s, which would be better, we could see this stock making a continued run. So I want to make sure I'm being very clear about that. Just because you have a slight pullback in the stock, it doesn't mean that the stock is just going to fully collapse. So you want to pay attention to those levels. Come up with a game plan. And if you are trading this play, at least you have a good idea of what you need to do. But of course, my videos are not financial advice. I just want you to add that alongside with your homework so you can be on the winning side of your trades. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we could see that institutions have been loading up on shares. And then taking a look at the short interest information, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. But here's a point that I want to bring up very quickly. We had Jerome Powell come out and he gave the market exactly what it wanted. He stuck with the 50 basis points in regards to the rate hike. And when he gave his guidance, he was not hawkish whatsoever. He was fairly positive. So this was great for the markets and we had a rally that continued. But what does this mean? We know as far as for growth stocks are concerned, they do not do the greatest when it comes to environments like this, and I'm talking about interest rate hikes. But just knowing that he's going to be conservative about it, and that is just for now, because again, things could change, growth stocks are going to pick up, and ChargePoint is going to be one of them. And you guys know I believe in the long-term prospects of this play as well, and I'm bullish on EVs overall in general. I was also doing some research and I see some articles come out with ChargePoint being compared to Volta. Of course, ChargePoint would win out because they're a lot further ahead in regards to their infrastructure, and just knowing of the fact that it is mainly owned by institutions and there's a ton of interest, and the fact that they position themselves to make sure that they could take advantage of the EV boom, especially since that is going to be the way moving forward, I would take ChargePoint over Volta any day of the week. Yes, Volta is trading at a lower price range, but I do feel if you are investing in any charging station company, ChargePoint should be the one that's right at the top, and then you could put some money in for Volta. I'm going to be be honest here, the fact that Volta has advertising displays on their charging stations, that is a very neat idea. And I feel that, yes, that is worth giving it a look, doing some homework, and seeing if that play is right for you. But if you want to make sure you have exposure to one of the top charging station companies, I would make sure that you keep ChargePoint on your list. But do not buy the stock if it pulls back, and if you are going to get scared or you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's dipping, I'm losing money. Do not go into the play whatsoever, because if you have high conviction, you're going to load up even more on the dip. We've seen this stock pull back quite a bit, and whenever it does, you know, I get excited. I like to add to the position. So I feel that you should have a similar strategy as well if you are a long-term investor. And before I close this video out, I just want to make sure I emphasize this main point. ChargePoint is a company who is not profitable as of yet. Will they get there? Hey, that's what I'm looking for, and that's why I believe in the long-term prospects. So knowing this, they're going to continue to have volatility throughout this entire year. So there's going to be many opportunities for you to load up on the dip and enjoy those run-ups. But just know you have to have a long-term thinking when it comes to this play. Don't just come to my channel and be like, oh, ChargePoint is down $2, it's sinking, it's collapsing, it's the end of the world. No, it's not. If you're an investor, you know exactly what you need to do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be talking to you guys real soon.